Well, hello, listeners. Thanks for joining. And today I've got a great guest, Tracey Spain Estes. And Tracey, how are you doing this morning?
Outstanding. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
I was chatting with you just before we got started about screens in general. We'll get into it, but I was very excited to connect with you and LG to have this conversation because I think it's very timely. Given your background, I always like to ask guests like you, how did you get here? I mean, you have a background. I think you worked in the YMCA, I think Hampton Roads for a while. You were with Life Fitness. You did a lot of things. What brought you to where you are today with LG in the fitness industry?
Yeah, the journey has been a very enjoyable and interesting one. I was a membership director at the YMCA in Virginia Beach, which was a blast. Learned so much and just loved that culture. And then moved on to Life Fitness, where I had the pleasure of 20-year career and just really worked with some of the greats, right? Starting in 1999, there was still that founder heritage and just all that was the soul of that company. And it was very exciting. Learned a lot. Got very sticky with the clubs that I would work with, learned what was important to them, what drove their business. So it was more than just, moving treadmills or how many Smith machines do you need, but really entrenching in what they want and their goals, and then connecting the dots, right? Providing that connection point. So it was a blast. Loved my time at Life Fitness. And honestly, I plan to retire there. So it was to my surprise when a recruiter reached out from LG and kind of explained their desire to have a bigger imprint in the fitness arena. LG is known for their great toys, right? Whether you have a laundry machine or a refrigerator, whatever, LG makes amazing toys. This division was specific to electronics, right? So only commercial TVs, only digital signage, and then direct view LED. And I immediately said, thank you so much, but no, thank you. I'm a fitness lady. Like, I can tell you how to, build a treadmill or talk about a Smith machine. Not really sure about that. But anyhow, many conversations later, they won me over and convinced me that it was a great fit, and they were 100% right. I feel very blessed. The LG family is just very supportive. They've taught me so much because you can imagine being a fitness person coming into the electronics world. Wow, our language is really different. But now it is, their vision has been fulfilled, right? Because it's the marriage of true fitness culture, understanding the big variety of the different clubs, studios, whether you're a mega gym or just a little, startup, they all have unique needs. And the technology is a critical part of it. Just like you said, it had a small role in the past, but now, it's something else.
Yeah, it's big. It's really grown quite a bit. You've seen it because you've been around like I have long enough to kind of see where it came from. And when you think of LG, and by the way, I own a number of LG products, not giving you a plug, I'm just saying. So when you think about it, as a consumer brand, as compared to what you're doing now is really more of a B2B vertical concentration. What's different about how most people think about that? Is there any difference at all?
So I'll say the quality runs throughout both divisions, right? So many people that I bump into, almost everybody says exactly what you said. Oh, I've got LG in my house, whether it's an OLED TV or, an appliance, they have something and it's positive. Usually it's very low service or no service and it shines brightly. So that's a plus. And that crosses both borders, commercial and consumer. What the difference is on the commercial side is all of the technology. So rather than buying the box, you buy a box with significant technology. And what's important is security, longevity, and products that are built to fulfill the goals that they want, right? So that's how I would answer that one. There's a longer answer, but I think we're going to talk about it in a little bit.
Yeah, that's great. That's fair. And so with respect to this and given your background in general, before we get into some trends and what you're seeing, what has surprised you most? Is there anything that's really kind of surprised you over the years about the fitness vertical in general, especially now that you're spending so much time with operators in real time, talking about tech and these kind of emergent things? Is there anything that really kind of stands out to you?
So absolutely. And it was a shocker to me because again, my focus never was electronics.
Yeah.
But as soon as I, crossed the bridge and I started to reach out to all my many, many friends that I developed over the years and help me understand your goals and what are you going to do. And they give this beautiful vision. And I said, well, tell me what you do for your commercial TVs or your digital signage. Like, how do you interweave that into this elaborate plan that you have? And they're like, oh yeah, I just go to the local discount store and just, get a consumer TV and throw it up on the wall, stick a USB stick in, and we're good. I'm like, guys, let's take a step back. Do you buy your protein powder at the local discount store? Right? In the running shoes that you're wearing right now. And I know you would spend 45 minutes discussing the attachments for one squat rack. Don't even get me started on how many configurations you could design a jungle. But then you go to your local discount store to buy the tool that's gonna be interfacing constantly with your guests. We can do better. We can do better. So that would be my biggest surprise. Like, what?
Yeah, I can really see that. Having had businesses in the space, I could see that. That makes a lot of sense. So, getting to trends now, Tracey, and you're on the ground, and I talk a lot about tech here. So, given you spend a lot of time on these kind of things that you just described, what are the consistent pain points that you hear about when it comes to the in-club physical environment around? In general, but around, displays as well. What are you hearing mostly?
So I think it's a cross between purchasing the products that are doing the basics, right? So if you go to the discount store and you buy kind of generic TVs, you're just showing TV. That's old school. It's not really engaging. There's nothing that's going to delight your member base. And as we look at the foundation of what the club should offer, your most valued member is the one that's there, the one that you've already earned. You don't have to go hunt them. They're there. Treat them wonderfully. Give them beautiful content. Give them something that will inspire them to have a better workout, to stay longer, and quite frankly, to spend more money in your facility, right? For the betterment of them, of course. But if you're not promoting your own programs and your own classes, and creating teams and sticky points inside the club using these screens, then you're really missing the point of the screens. Like, not for nothing, nobody really cares about watching TV that much anymore. So, but I would also say now the trend, everybody on the planet has their phone. And, we'll see how long that lasts based on health issues. But between that and beacon technology, there's so much that you can do when a member walks in with a greeting from the lovely staff that you have. Like, we do love humans, but also digital signage is critical for that quick engagement. Welcome back, Bryan, 10th workout of the month, you go, or whatever. But using those tools, which are much more evolved, much more easy to find, easy to pay for, creating that ecosystem so the members engaged from the minute they walk in through their sweat, recovery, lift, locker room, whatever the experience is, the trend is to bring it all together seamlessly.
Yeah, it makes complete sense. And we were talking about this a little bit before we got started here today, and in the kind of thing I talked about a number of years ago, where in my presentations I talked about screens everywhere because of all the reasons, and some of which we'll get into a little bit more. But the technology has come a long way. And so how are people using it differently? You described the personalization as an example than maybe 4, 5, 6 years ago. You gave the example of personalization. Are there other ways that people are using these screens?
So I think two things. The fitness industry itself with the manufacturers, they've evolved significantly, right? Kudos to those guys. And almost across all the big brands, all the nice brands. But the technology is very personalized if the member chooses it. And if they do, they really get a lot. They get a bang for their buck compared to what we used to offer. The trick of it is weaving it all together, right? So you check in at the front desk, you've got one system. You get on your favorite treadmill, you've got that system. Bringing it all together into one ecosystem where the AI behind the scenes can talk amongst the systems and then provide a delight to the member throughout the experience. That's the magic. And when you look at technology as, I'll just add it at the last minute, again, buying from the discount store and kind of sticking it on the wall, that mindset doesn't match with the the rich experience that members expect now, right? So if I'm a member, and just like you said, most of them have some type of nice, whether it's LG or not, they have a beautiful TV at home. They don't want to go to a club and see something that, is dim or not engaging. They want their content on their app. They want something beautiful in front of them, and they want it all to tie in together.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then, of course, when you had mentioned earlier about engagement, retention, and creating this visual environment that's highly appealing, you know, do you see certain clubs doing that better than others? I know in the back of my mind, I could name a few, and I know you don't want to necessarily pick on certain brands, but you can
Yeah,
see some differentiation in that front competitively. I know, right?
you can, absolutely. And I think all of the ones where there's success, if you will, right, where they're bringing it together, they will say it's not an afterthought.
Yep.
It's definitely a planned strategic goal, but they would also say they're accomplishing the goal, right? So you may pay 20% more for the actual screen, and then you'll pay a penny or two for the technology to drive those experiences, but you get members. So you just did at HFA, I forget the name of it, but it was around gamification for retention, right? And one of the things that I remember, I was championing it from the gentleman from Raintree, was, the member that you have, get the most out of them, but give them the most.
Yep.
And that's exactly right. So planning to do that and engaging with companies with content to do that, it's a strategy, and it should be thought of just as much as our hack squad.
Yeah, no, absolutely true. Absolutely true. So I always like to talk about the future. And, given what you're saying and given what I equally agree with and observe as far as what, really high-end screens can do in an environment, where do we see this going? If you're looking, 5 years down the road, 3, 5, 7 years, how does the in-club experience look different from what you're seeing today in your view?
So, of course, the expectation is going to be that I say technology is everywhere, right? But the reality is technology is coming to be everywhere, right? So the fact that there are actual refrigerators with a screen on them now kind of speaks to that. But in the fitness and wellness and recovery, or it's so much more than just fitness anymore. Um, the greeting, the experience throughout the club, the experience as they exit the club, like all of it, A to Z, it is coming, will be humans, because we love humans, but supported by beautiful signage
Yeah.
that's inspiring and delighting. So there's a product called Direct View LED, and it's most easily explained as the jumbotron, right, at the big stadium. But really, we build DV LED in 4 by 6 inch tiles. So if you can imagine, I could wrap a room, I could wrap the inside or outside of a building with DV LED. So when we look at something that's immersive, you can have, let's say, a hot yoga studio where 2 walls are mountains or waterfalls. I mean, you can truly create emotion when you do it right. So do I think that's going to happen everywhere? Probably not, but it definitely will create a more immersive experience for those who choose it. And wow, those members, they'll be your best referrals, right? They'll be dragging everyone to the facility because they want to be involved. They want to feel that feeling.
Yeah, and you can't replicate that easily on a phone or anything else. You're talking about really inspiring, motivational, kind of touches your soul experiences if you're in a room like that, that is that beautiful and, tied in with the programming you're delivering, like yoga or whatever. Having distributed Les Mills for a while and what they did with the ride and things like that, you're starting to see the beginnings of those kind of venues that you could really do that in. And I think it would be a heck of a point of differentiation when you think about that kind of a thing, don't you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We even manufacture and sell a floor. So there are floor DV LEDs where when you walk in, you could be greeted with a wave or, something comical. But electronically, the options are endless. The goal is to bring the industry slowly along so they
Yeah.
can understand and appreciate how to really drive that personal experience so members are wowed, not just, oh, I accomplished my, workout, but really inspired to tell others, want to stay longer, want to spend more, and want to come back.
Yeah. And I would think, given your viewpoints on that future, the idea of continuing to kind of bridge digital and physical member experience, you as probably see this continuing to converge, I'd imagine.
I do. I do. And we cannot discount our human staff. Like, they're amazing.
Yeah.
We have spent significant time in the robot world on my side of the house,
Yeah.
and there's great technology. But the first thing that comes before all the cool technology, no matter how neat it looks and what it can do, humans are important, right? They have an essence that can't be replicated, and they're needed. And guests, members, they love being greeted by a human. They love people recognizing them, commenting on their points or their exercises. So absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Trust.
And yeah, exactly. And consistency around that's key. Sometimes you don't have a person right there, right at the spot that you'd like to have them. Also, the best brands in the world right now, from an experiential standpoint, you look at Apple and their retail experience, for example. They do a great job of making the basics very frictionless and easy. And then when you get the human at that point of delivering that great interpersonal connection, the digital technology actually, in my experience, just accentuates those interactions. Don't you agree?
That's right. Yep. If designed properly and placed appropriately, it supports, emphasizes, and encourages that experience with the human.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. So, given your background and now you're doing this exciting work with LG, and I can't agree with you more with respect to what these technologies can do in the way of everything you've described. But, I like to ask our guests like you for insights from a standpoint of what I call pearls of wisdom, given that you've seen so many trends over the last number of decades as I have. So for a club owner, listening now who hasn't thought strategically about these kind of things, where would you advise them to kind of start? What would your approach be as far as thinking about their member experience in this regard?
Yeah, so I think step number one sits with them. Now that their eyes are a bit open to, oh, I might be missing the boat and I could do a little more, is to spend time thinking about their own goals, right? Because that's going to be the platform that we work off of. We can't tell them their goals. We can offer suggestions, but they're the soul of their business. So think about what they, do they want to attract more? Do they want to keep more? Do they want to grow? Like, whatever their goals are. And then we can have a conversation. So whether it's reaching out to me directly and we'll set up a strategy session, we often work with large club resellers as well, because they're the ones that are going to do the installation and the hands-on. So they're critical in this ecosystem to have the full conversation. Like, okay, if this is our goal, we bring the hardware, we bring the installation, everybody's got their role to play. And we're very good at bringing them all together. None of it can stand alone, especially now that technology is moving so fast. There are many parts, from content to programming to proper installation and all that's behind that. So I would say, let's figure out what our goals are, and then let's start the conversation.
That makes sense. And from an investment perspective, when you think about it, because having, developed technologies in the space as well, it always seems to me to be a little bit of a challenge when you start talking dollars and cents. Is there a certain orientation you'd advise people to consider when it comes to evaluating the investment for these kind of efforts?
So I'm a fan of planning early and go big and bold, and start with that, ask for quotes up front from all of your providers. And then you have an idea of where you can now cut back. Okay, my goal might be grandiose, but I can afford mid-tier, and then in 2 years I'll go grandiose. But you don't know until you get that big quote. So I say start with reality, right? Jump right in. And all of us on the electronic side, we're here to support, and we win when the clubs win. We win when we get the call that the members are satisfied, everybody's happy. We hit our goal. That's the win. selling like 10 TVs, yeah, that's great, but it's not right, yeah. So we're long-term partners wanting to work with resellers as well as the end users to really develop long-term partnerships.
Makes sense. Makes sense. And is there, given LG is a big company, another thing I'd like for pearls of wisdom from you, what are you seeing in other verticals, healthcare, retail? We were talking about food and beverage when before, and what I've seen there. Are you seeing any kind of learnings in other industry spaces that you're starting to think about when it comes to this space of fitness?
Sure, yeah. Two come to mind. One is the hotel experience. And LG, I'm very proud of the team. I don't deal with hotels, but I'm very proud of that team. They are the majority shareholder, which is tough in this market. There are lots of other competitors, but so much of it is around the secure experience. So when you check in, you're greeted and all that, that's part of that. Everything that you do during that experience. And then when you leave, it is critical that all your data, whether it's banking or your, Netflix or whatever is on, is securely buttoned up. That is a big deal. And I know you've probably also heard stories in gyms where some, joking member will drop something from his phone up onto the screen, and all of a sudden membership is, oh, what's happening? This is a big problem. Kids, shut your eyes. But that's a big difference between commercial, right, and consumer. You can do anything on consumer. It's designed to live in your house. But when you go into the commercial space, it's important. So security and so many, like LG has ProCentric and ProIdiom, like they're so rich with their technology features. And all of that matters in the commercial setting. So I think hotels, that's one example.
Yeah,
The
good
second
example.
yeah,
Yep.
thanks. The second one is the cruise industry.
Mm.
They almost put electronics not first, but it's in the top tier because they're all about delighting, right? They're all about the magic and the glitter and the let's catch them from the minute they step off land and engage them the entire time. So they're thinking about where can we, wrap a column with DV LED and make it look like little fish swimming, or as they're getting ready to go onto their, what's it called? Their little trips.
Excursions, so they call them. Yeah.
Thank you. Having signage along the corridor that kind of gets them so excited and really brings them to, like you said earlier, brings that emotion of, oh, I can't wait to do this. And then I can't wait to tell people. And then I'm going to take a picture and share it. And, just creating that emotional experience is something the cruise industries do a fabulous job of. And we're huge partners with them. So yeah, I look forward to being a part of bringing the fitness industry to that level.
That's great. That's fantastic. Tracey, it's been great to visit with you. I really appreciate it. And having been a guy that was talking years ago about screens everywhere and the immersion of it, when we were talking earlier, I love hearing this. And I know in the show notes, we're going to have a bunch of links for the audience with respect to how to get in touch with you and more information on LG, et cetera. Are there any final thoughts or things you'd like to share that we didn't cover?
I don't think so. This was a great conversation. I really appreciate it. I would just encourage all my fitness brethren, don't be afraid of electronics. It doesn't cost $1 million, and it can really give you back some of the excitement that I think you're looking to give your members.
Yeah, I agree. Well put. Well, thanks so much again, Tracey. It was really great to chat with you, and I would see you soon, I hope.
Sounds good. Thanks. Nice talking with you.